Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is part two of a two-part call. Last week, I apologize, I didn't record it, but I will do a brief recap and explain why this is a two-part call, because there were requests to extend the dialogue and have more discussion on the subject. We talked about ways that we can improve our business activity. There is so much time spent on discussing planning, vision, dream building, goal setting, that type of thing, not just here, but in business in general. If you were to go to study business management at university, a lot of time is spent there in discussing how to set and achieve goals, how to plan constructively, what different planning methods, and how to do your research and go on your fact-finding missions, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that is explained, but execution, how to execute the strategy well and to make it happen, doesn't get the same amount of attention. And yet, it seems to me that a great plan, poorly executed, doesn't create great results. And sometimes a mediocre plan that is very well executed can deliver better. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that we all set out to have mediocre plans. We want to have great plans, of course, don't we? But if we can learn to execute better, then that will help us to do a better job. So last week, what we talked about are some things that we could do to prepare ourselves to do just that. And we identified four areas. Now, everyone's on their computer right now. If you can do this on your computer while I'm talking, please do. If you've got a piece of paper and a pen handy, you might want to scribble some notes down as well. And I have, of course, asked people to come prepared to contribute their ideas in advance as well. So hopefully you're willing to share your ideas and thoughts on this as we go on too. So to recap, and for those that weren't on the call last week, what were the four areas that we discussed to help us to execute a better strategy? The first was to identify what aspects of my business do I need to eliminate. There are often, especially if I've been in business for a long time and business for myself, and there are a lot of long timers in Niken. I was on the call on Saturday and introduced as being with Niken for 8 years, which under normal circumstances or any other business environment would be considered a meaningful amount of time. But I was shoulder to shoulder with other people on the call that had been there 27 years, 28 years, 23 years, and I was an infant in comparison. There are a lot of long-standing business owners in Niken, which means in many instances, there are things that we're doing in our business that could be eliminated, that are no longer relevant, that maybe they once were, but are no longer applicable today. So I want us to think about that. We're going to discuss each of these four elements throughout the call. So what things in my business should I eliminate? What are they? What's no longer relevant to my business? What things should I increase? There are certain activities that I currently have that are essential for my business practice, but maybe they're not getting enough attention. Maybe I'm not giving them enough focus or enough time. What are these activities that I should give more priority to in regards to my time management? And then on the flip side of that, of course, what are some things that I maybe do a lot of or more than I should that needs to be reduced? What activities need to be reduced in my business so that I'm not wasting my time? And sometimes we can have things that are relatively important, but if they become our single most important priority, then, for example, it's important to build my contact list. But if I'm constantly building my contact list, but never reaching out and contacting people, then I've got my priorities back to front. That's not going to add much value to my business. I was at a meeting a number of years ago in the Netherlands, and we had an activity where we were going to pull out our contact lists, and then we were going to start making appointments right there and then. And we did a little bit of practice on how we could improve our contact lists, add value to them, increase the numbers of people on the list. And the gentleman came up to me in the break while people were working on it and proudly showed me this list. That was about 3 inches thick, 3 or 4 inches thick. And he said, "This is my list, Ben. What do you think of this?" And he was so proud of that list. I said, "That's just impressive. That's fantastic." And he was, I don't need to do too much right now, Ben, in this activity, because as you can see, my list is robust. Well, the next activity, of course, was to reach out and make contact with people on that list and start setting appointments for that week to have conversations. Everyone was busy jumping on their phones, and he sat there looking awkward. I was like, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, this list is about 3 or 4 years old, and I've not made contact with anyone on it during that time." It was as good as the yellow pages. It was completely a waste of time. So we need to make sure that we're focused and prioritizing things. So what things could be reduced? The fourth and final thing is, what are the new things that I could create, that I could add to my activity that will add value, that will make me unique? Now, this eliminating critical, wasted activity, if we can eliminate the non-essentials and replace that with critical new things that maybe aren't done right now. Maybe this is new territory. Maybe this is innovation at its finest. And we don't need to be complicated with that. It might be innovative for you. Yeah, maybe other people are doing this, but you've skirted around on the sidelines looking in, but not dipped your toe in the water yet with some new innovative method. For example, maybe having a go at online advertising to sell some of your products, or doing something of that nature, hosting your own event when you haven't done that. That might be innovative for your business. Yeah. So let's look at this. So just to recap, what can I eliminate? What should I increase? What should I reduce? And what should I create? These were the 4 areas that we discussed last week. And as we got to the end of the call, of course, the people that were on it, there were a number of people that requested, can we please have another meeting, which is today's call, where we can drill deeper and get more into the nuts and bolts of what might those lists look like? What are those 4 categories? So if you have some paper, and I can see a couple of people already writing down, you might want to draw a quadrant on your piece of paper. So draw a square, divide it into 4, and then have in the top left-hand corner of each square, eliminate, raise, reduce, create. This is going to be your brainstorming box here. Okay, eliminate, raise, reduce, create. You can do that on a piece of paper online, on your computer, or you can do it, of course, on a piece of paper here as well. It's fine. So what I want to do now, before I jump in and share some of my ideas, I've sat down and looked at my own business and things that I want to eliminate, things that I want to reduce, things that I want to raise, things that I want to create. But before I start jumping in and sharing my ideas, let's get some feedback from some of you who were on last week's call, or maybe are listening here for the first time and already have some ideas. Let's have some hands raised, or maybe if you want to unmute your line and give a shout out and share with us some of the ideas that you've had as you reflected over this past week. Anyone want to go first? Madeline, I saw your hand go up fast there.
Number 1, eliminate old notes, clutter, and the time I spent sorting it and putting it in piles. That's connected. Number 2, essential, not enough focus on documentation, the contact list in one place. It's in the bottom. Number 3, be less of, say less talking and less presenting. Number 4, adding value, social media, web page, more online. Yeah. That's it.
It's excellent. I like that it's concise, Madeline. That's wonderful, because if
I'm working on that. So how about that? That's number 2 or 3.
I know it's being put into practice immediately. But I love that, because if we have lists that are too long, we're going to overwhelm ourselves with so much change that we'll end up doing nothing. Now, it's good in a brainstorming process, of course, and I think Madeline's probably given that a bit of thought before jumping on the call. But in a brainstorming session, it's good to put everything on paper and to fill that page up and to put as many ideas on there. And then you sift, then you sort, and then you cut out, and then you craft it and you fine tune it and you reduce it to the most important 2 or 3. Yeah. So Carol, you just raised your hand there. Carol John, do you want to unmute your line and share your thoughts.
I was actually itching, but
Oh.
I
That's
didn't
what
realize.
happens when you do it on video. You're on.
It's like I'm at the auction. I I have a lot of old notes as well and clutter. So I need to stay more focused and eliminate a lot of extra stuff that is not relevant again. And I need to increase what I do with my follow-ups and my time spent working on my business. And I need to reduce, I have a lot of wasted time. Well, it's not wasted. I'm caring for my uncle, but I'm trying to put more focus towards my business and kind of split my time. And I need to work on I started a Facebook webpage and I haven't finished that. So I want to work on more social webpage and get a new phone and get WhatsApp, because I can't get WhatsApp on my phone. So.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. That's good. And I empathize with the time management. That's a tough one. One of the, we often kind of shout out the wonderful benefits of working for yourself. And yet the reality is it's actually pretty difficult, isn't it? To work for yourself, to be self-directed in an effective, efficient manner all the time is not easy, especially if you're working in a home office. Or when you have other responsibilities where you're caring for other people, be they parents or spouses or children. Those responsibilities can tug and pull us in lots of different directions. And learning how to carve that time out well, I've found is a skill in itself. So yeah, I empathize with that. And interesting as well that you also referenced, as did Madeline, getting up to speed with your social media pages and your web presence. I think that was interesting as well. So
I think I'm the only one that can't get WhatsApp on their old. I have a 4S and it won't take any new apps. So
that's a shame. So,
to upgrade.
Time to upgrade. Time to upgrade. Yeah, Mrs. Kramer, you've why don't we have you unmute your line and you share something too, please.
Well, I can identify with Madeline, her stacks of paper that she, keeps stacking. And I've done the same thing, but I got a shredder so that things that I want to eliminate, I can just put them through that shredder and I'm not going to look at them again because I don't go through the shredded stuff.
Yeah, that's a bold step, that one, isn't it?
Well, I've had it for a while, a couple of years, but I'm using it much more than I was before.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Also, I do not like Facebook, and I'm trying to avoid anything that has to do with Google and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and anything that Google owns. However, sometimes we don't like something, we have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I've sort of revived my activity on Facebook. And actually, it was a good idea because my sister in Mississippi has a Facebook page, and she told me that she has a few people that are asking her if she is my sister, and they call me by the name that they knew me in high school.
Yeah.
50 years ago, 55 years ago. And so I'm in touch with one of them already. She lives in Atlanta, and we've reconnected. Since high school. We haven't been in touch. So it's a good thing to do, is to reconnect with people that you haven't been connected to for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I like that point that you raise as well, Mrs. Kramer, that maybe there are some things on our list that we don't want to do, we don't like to do, and it's so easy to put on the list the things that we're comfortable with, What about the things that we're not comfortable with, but we know we should do? That's a big one, and I applaud you for acknowledging that there are some things that I don't want to go down that path, but if it's the best thing for the business, and it helps me reach out and serve more people and do a better job, then maybe I need to shift my paradigm. Maybe there's something that I need to do differently here in my head to embrace that. So that's a really good point, Mrs. Kramer. Thank you.
I would just like to add that even with that, there are boundaries.
Oh, 100%, of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. We want to make sure that we're enjoying our own journey. Yeah, we're the captains of our own ship here. This is the perk and privilege of running our own business.
Yep.
Is we want to do it in a way that makes us feel comfortable, but at the same time stretches us in the right place, the right amount. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Ruth, I can see Ruth Lowe sitting there. Can I put you on the spot and ask you to share what are some thoughts that you've had on this?
So I am working on a list of things to eliminate. And I'm with Mrs. Kramer. I'm not so much into the Facebook, but what happens is I get sucked in, and before I know it, an hour and a half is gone. So for me is to get myself time. So I have a timer. And in regards to what Madeline said about clutter, I have a timer that I set for 15 minutes. And whatever I could clear off my desk in that 15 minutes, that's what I do in 15 minutes. So just simple steps that are just making me more aware of my time. I also just listened to Darren Harding, and he has a thing going on every day. He has a daily message. And yesterday's message was, the first 3 hours of your day are critical.
Yeah.
To get up earlier. And I thought, okay, so I got up at 5 this morning. I got a ton of stuff done before 8 a.m. I'm like, this is an interesting concept. So there are things as we learn from you and learn from others, and just implementing one little thing at a time, I think is what's going to help us go forward.
Yeah, excellent. I like that. And having a timer on it. And you're right, because often when we talk about improving our performance on Facebook, much of our performance on Facebook isn't even business related. We're just on it. Yeah, we're connecting with fellow Nikonites, however you want to call us, fellow people in Nikon, and we'll like and share each other's posts and give each other a pat on the back and what have you, which is great. But that's not building the business, is it? That's not generating more sales. That's not bringing new people in. That's not supporting our new customers or helping people to rank advance. It's good for recognition. And I think it's good to do that if someone's being celebrated for an achievement. But it's not actually business activity. So really, we're just socializing. And then we go, I've been working the business. No, we haven't. Right? So it would be interesting to accumulate, to tally up all of the hours we spend in a week or month on Facebook, divide it by the number of sales that generated, and then say, what is my value per hour on time spent there? That would be sobering, wouldn't it?
So I'd like to add to that, Ben. Facebook has its time and place. It has a purpose.
Yeah.
I use it I have a commitment to my accountability partner that every day we have a new contact. Right? So there are nights I'm like, oh my gosh, the day is gone and I don't have a new contact. So I go to Facebook and I look at people's posts, and if something resonates with me, that it's a person I don't know, I click on that, send them a private message and friend request them. And then I'm like, let's connect. What you said about this really interests me. So Facebook has been a resource for me, and I think it's a good thing, but you really need to limit your time to make it efficient.
Well, the critical thing with Facebook is it is a powerful tool for good for building our business, but most people still don't know how to use it. I think I used this example once before of a lady that I worked with in the UK who would throw her hands up in despair at me and say, people just don't come to meetings in the UK anymore. That's old school. They just don't do it. And I was like, no, that's not true. People do come to meetings. They go to meetings all the time. They just don't go to yours. Yeah, you got to get more effective. That's the difference. Yeah, and it's the same with this. Social media is great. But if we want to build our business with it, we've got to use and employ a different set of skills. And it is very difficult. It's very different to simply going on there and browsing as a conventional consumer. If you're going out there to encourage others to connect with you, to build loyalty, relationships, trust, and have business exchange in a social media environment, it's not called business media, it's called social media. Yeah. So to be able to subtly cross that boundary and to make those connections, take some practice and some skills, some learning, some education. So yeah, I'm glad you stressed that, Ruth, because you're right. It's not that it's bad. It's just that we need to do better at it. That's the difference. Now, Ruth, you had your hand up. You were going to say something.
Yes. On that Facebook, hi Ruth. On that Facebook, I have found that when I start searching for certain connections and connect with specific aligning individuals, wellness and, chiropractors, whoever, that I'm not wasting my time. I'm actually connecting with individuals that are looking for what I have as well as I'm looking for them. It's almost like they're qualified already. And so that's something different that I have looked at doing. As far as eliminating, I eliminate the word should and eliminate the thought of blame. And when you start doing those, you're in more action. And if I'm having a day where I just feel like, like the world's on me, like, oh, I got all these things, I've got all these plates. First of all, I always start my day, and I know Ruth does this and many others, I know you too, but start off your day with prayer. What's the message? And sit with silence. Silence is when you're going to receive. But something that I've shared with many of the people that I mentor in my work as well is I don't wait until the end of the day to reassess my day. I learned this as an intensive care nurse, and Madeline can understand this, that I do the 2-hour assessment. Every 2 hours, I stop and make sure that I'm on the right track and I haven't forgotten something. And I also believe in structure. I used to hate the word discipline, and I've understood that I have freedom with the word discipline. And my discipline comes from looking at my week and putting in Nikan, putting in my clients, putting in my self-care. And it's amazing. It's like the story that we always heard about the rock. How much time you really have left over. Well, then play with Facebook if you want, but make sure you have the structure in there. And what was the other? Oh, and what I'm doing is I'm doing presentations. I'm looking at doing one a month. I have a health center, Earth Fair, it's what it's called. It's a grocery store and such. And they have a meeting room, and it's free. And I have energy wellness presentations, and people are coming.
Yeah.
And, then the other thing I'm doing is I'm doing live video presentations on Facebook, but I like LinkedIn. We haven't mentioned LinkedIn. I feel I have more business leaders with LinkedIn than I do with Facebook.
Yeah, I agree, and it's pleasing to me that you've raised LinkedIn. I find with the different social media platforms, you get a different audience. With Twitter, you've got their attention, just like the name of that platform suggests. They're like a little bird that kind of flits in and flits out. You've got them for that little bit of time, yeah? And that's kind of how you grab their attention. For Facebook, it's very social. A lot of people hit Facebook as well to promote their other businesses, and they connect with you, and I've got a great connection here, but they're wanting to sell their wares to you. You're wanting to sell your wares to them, and it becomes, you both got the same agenda, and that doesn't always work out. LinkedIn, I agree. I've had some really good success with LinkedIn of late, and I get a different caliber of people. They're more professional, they're more serious, they respond quicker, they're more direct, and they take action faster. And so, LinkedIn, I think, is a good way to explore. So that's good. That's good. I like that. Thank you.
One other little thing that I learned from somebody else, and pass it on.
Yeah.
But if you have all these things on your list, and there's really no priority, each one are going to benefit to you doing your business, you being your best.
Yeah.
What they did is they put each one of them in a list in a jar, and then they would take one out and they would complete it, and then they'd go on to the next. And there's a phrase I have in my office that says, do what's necessary, then what's possible, and soon you'll find you have done the impossible.
Mm.
And so that's a little theory to go with that.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. So I want to finish. We've got just a couple of minutes left. I'll finish with my notes on what my list was that I came up with in the spirit of sharing as well, I guess. So things that I wanted to eliminate was long presentations. I think in my experience, and this is a training meeting, perhaps this is a team call, but for prospecting, I think the age of 45-minute presentations is over. That's my opinion. People have a different concept of time. So long presentations is something I want to eliminate. Dated methods. One of the challenges that I find we have in network marketing is things that worked 20 years ago don't work today. Yeah, or have certainly significantly less relevance. But the people often that have the biggest voice are those that were doing things successfully 20 years ago. Yeah, and we've got to get a balance between what was working then and what should work now and bring the two together. Yeah, the principles are often universal. Yeah, talking to people, building relationships, providing service, offering value, solving problems, those types of things all come into the frame. But the methodology, the method of execution can often differ. Things I want to raise: my online visibility, my follow-up activities. I'm good at following up with prospects, not as good with my customers. Kim does a great job with customers, but then I don't always do the follow-up as I know I should. I don't walk my talk as I would like to with customer follow-up. And to that point, I would like to increase the number of auto ship customers that I've got in my business and have that as a priority. Recruiting activity, I want to increase. And planning my time more effectively. I can't remember who it was that mentioned, I think it was Carol mentioned that earlier on in the call today. Being more structured with my time would be a big help for me. Things I want to reduce: jargon. It's so easy when we're in an environment where we all know the same lingo to speak to people outside of this environment and confuse them. And I want to find the more subtle and more understandable ways or relatable ways of speaking to others where it just makes sense versus I'm having to give them kind of a spin on network marketing so that they make it understandable and relatable. And I just want it to be nice and clear and understandable without all the jargon. Removing the clutter and the distractions. I kind of discussed that a little bit already. Things I want to create. And this is something I've already been working. I've already started this, is a clearer focus on a targeted market, both people and products. We have a sizable product portfolio, and we don't necessarily have to focus on everything. If I'm going to be going after certain people and targeting them in a certain way in order to get my customers and support a customer-centric business, then I should focus on a particular category. Perhaps initially, that's what I'm doing right now, focusing initially on one category, getting some new customers in that area, and then over time I can expand out to other areas by replicating that system and methodology. Online advertising campaigns, that's something that I'm working on creating now so I can get more effective in that area. Certainly the way forward. I think that's far more effective than newspaper, radio, and booths. Fairs are wonderfully expensive. We do a lot of them in the business, but boy, they sure do cost a lot, don't they? Any of you that have done them, I've done them myself, and they can cost a pretty penny. Yes, online advertising, I think, can give you a better bang for your buck, and it's a fun skill to learn. I'm loving what I'm learning right now, and finding myself a wonderful novice in this area, which is thrilling. ClickFunnels. That's maybe something that you may or may not have heard of, but they are certainly a new online tool that I'm looking to explore and enjoy a little bit more of as a new method of conducting my business online. If you're interested in learning more about that, Russell Brunson is the founder, creator of that tool. He's also just introduced a new book on how to use ClickFunnels for network marketing. which I purchased yesterday. So I just got my little notification this morning saying it's just been shipped. So these are things that I'm wanting to explore, to get into new territory, create new space, things that I need to eliminate to be more productive and more efficient. And I hope as we talk about all of this, you've had some ideas of your own. For those of you that have listened and made notes, I've seen a lot of people making notes here. I hope this has been productive and helpful. Again, to reiterate, the 4 things that we need to focus on to improve our performance is, what must I eliminate? There are too many things we take for granted that we don't actually need to do anymore. What must I raise, do more of? More customer acquisition, more auto ship customers, more recruiting activity, more focused time on social media, focused time, constructive time on social media. What should I reduce? The clutter, the unnecessary, the distractions, my poor time management, all of that type of thing. What should I create? New sales channels, be it online or offline, more in-home meetings, more online sales funnels or ad campaigns or click funnels, whatever it might be, more ways of reaching out and getting there, helping our business to grow and expand and be more productive. I want you to, like I said, to fill that page up, that little quadrant, and then prioritize it. Create another page afterwards. Once you've done your brainstorming, create a new page, fill it in with just 2 or 3 critical ones for each box. 2 or 3, no more than 3, definitely, because otherwise you're going to have 12 things to do, and that's a lot. Yeah. 1 or 2, maybe it's 1 or 2, and prioritize it that much. Just drill down and focus on that and get going. Evaluate your time. Make sure that your business is aligned with your values, what you treasure most, what you feel aligns with your personal skill set, and ways that you want to improve your skill set or create new areas. I'm looking at these online areas right now because this is a skill set that I am not a master of, but I would like to get to know better. And I'm thrilled that I've got an environment here with Nikan where I can hone my skills, learn new ones, become a master of a new craft. And isn't that fun? Isn't that rewarding? I'm thrilled with that because that makes me a better businessman, more relevant, certainly not stuck in the past, but relevant for today and tomorrow. That's what I want to be. I want to be relevant and of value. So let's learn these new skills and eliminate what we don't need to have in our business. I hope this has been a help. Thank you so much for being a part of this call. Thank you for those that have contributed. It's been wonderful to have all of your insights. So glad to work with you all. Love you all a ton, as you know. And thank you very much. And we'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ben.